going on, everyone?
Yo.
This is the Average Sports Guys podcast. I'm your host, Eddie.
I'm Adam.
This is Marcus.
And again, we're the Average Sports Guys. This is episode 64.
64.
And we just keep stacking them up, stack them and rack them.
Let's go.
Before we get into the show, how's everybody been, man?
I'm all right. I had a little bit of an interesting day today. Everything gets a little bit stressful right before, spring break and all that.
I keep forgetting the kids in spring break.
Like, I will not be traveling. I did invest in an Xbox, and that's exactly what I'm doing over there. What about you guys?
I'm okay. Things are all right. Nothing to write home about at this particular moment. Just par for the course, and I'm good with that.
I hear that.
Yeah. Same with me. Busy with work always. I know
Facts.
I say that every time we talk about what we're doing. But just trying to get a lot of stuff in order. I'll be out for a week and a half, having surgery tomorrow. So, the work is never done anyway.
Yes,
so
sir.
Even after this, I got a little bit of work to do, and then hopefully get a chance to relax before tomorrow. I have to be to the hospital at 5:30 in the morning.
Yep.
Yikes.
It's whack.
Let us know if you need anything.
Yeah, man.
I feel like people don't really mean that. And they're like, hey, man, let me know if you need anything. And then
just like back away.
Yeah. And then you're just like, well, actually, I do. And then they're like, no, I didn't mean that. If you need something else, I mean, no.
Something convenient for me.
Right.
Yeah.
That falls within the time period of 2:30 and 4:30
right,
in the afternoon. Anything
Only
outside
on
of
Wednesdays.
Right.
No.
It's a appropriately timed surgery of yours because I'm moving this weekend, and
Oh, yeah,
he's
you
like the
are.
only person I know with a pickup truck, and he's conveniently not available. So
Yeah, it was funny. Adam was telling me, was it last week, right? He said that they were moving. And I was like, oh, where are you moving? He's like, literally across the street. So I was like, oh, okay. And then I was like, oh, when is it? Because I would help. I hate moving, right? I hate moving. I hate
Sucks.
helping people move. I help Marcus move. It's fine.
it's
I was just about to say that.
Yeah. No, I mean, but let's just be real,
So
right?
good.
Like, who likes moving? Right?
Nobody.
It's like, you want to help me move? Yeah. No, I don't.
Sure.
But because we're friends, I will. But anyway, so I asked Adam when I was like, hey, when are you moving? He's like, the 1st. I was like, God damn. I was like, well,
It's the
I'm
1st
having
of the month.
surgery
oh
the day before.
shoot, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, damn. So,
Oh, wow.
I'm kidding. I personally hate helping people move, and I've been asked to do it so many times. So
Oh
it's
my
like,
God.
I don't want to ask anyone else to help me move. I'll just
Right.
like handle it,
yeah. No, I know the feeling.
I get it, bro.
I really do. One time, I just moved myself. Like, I just
Yeah?
said, F it. I got a
Facts.
truck. I just put everything in there
Let's go.
slowly as I could. I moved the couch by myself,
Yeah.
like the
You're a
bed,
beast. You're a beast.
everything. I was just like, because I know how it is. I'm like, nobody's likes to, help move. So
Nah, fam.
I just did it myself. Then I bought myself pizza and beer. So, it was
Facts.
good.
Well,
Perfect.
Absolutely. Like,
It's a great
I hated
weekend.
movies. I hated moving so much. And if you guys don't know, I am not recently divorced, but like almost like close to a year divorced. Like, I moved stuff in the middle of the night, bro. Like, I legit just loaded up my car at like 3 a.m. just to get out of that situation and just drove it an hour to my new spot. But I totally get it.
Sometimes you got to do that, man.
Hey, man. That's how it goes.
Yeah. So I when we move, I'm not even putting a pair of socks in a box. Like, I'm paying people to.
Oh, absolutely.
Full on bougie. I don't care. I'm paying. I am paying. I already told Chrissy. I was like, you can hang that up. Like, you can go through things and pack your little. No, everything I have will be packed by movers.
If it wasn't for the fact that I'm literally moving across the street, like I can see my new apartment from our current apartment. If it
Right.
wasn't for that, I'd be hiring movers too. But like, I honestly, I can't deal with like having a mover pack everything up and just cross the street with it and then take it right out there. I'd just be too embarrassed doing
No,
that.
yeah. It's like, oh, where are we going? Right
there.
Right. And it's like, even like same situation I just talked about, when Eddie was helping me, like legit, like when I hired movers, it was like a young guy, he looked pretty,
Oh,
fit.
and then that lady.
And then just old lady, but she was getting it.
Yeah, she
though.
was. Yeah, she was. She was schooling that young kid.
She was.
She's, you better watch them corners, tearing up them walls. I was dying. Yeah, she was about her business.
Oh, for sure.
She was about her business. And then you had the other guys at the new spot waiting to unload the truck.
Facts.
Oh
So-
man.
Yeah, I had 2 sets of movers. I was not playing.
Yeah, we still threw some stuff in my truck though, so
Yeah.
it was cool.
It was
It wasn't a bad day.
Nah, it was a great day.
So, Yeah, man. So we are going to do the NFC East, kind of, again, our opinion about what teams should draft,
Right.
and what their needs are. So since we're doing the NFC East, our teams happen to be in the NFC East. So Marcus will do the Eagles. Adam and I will go ahead and go over the Washington football team, and then we'll have a roundtable discussion about the Giants and the Cowboys.
Let's go.
So, Marcus, you can go ahead and start off with your Philadelphia Eagles.
So if you've been living under a rock, you might not understand the level of frustration that the Eagles fan base has with Howie Roseman's leadership.
How is it, Marcus?
It's pretty bad. So
How bad, Marcus?
I'm going to put it in perspective because here's the thing. If you know anything about Philadelphia, or if you want to know anything about Philadelphia, we are known for our cheesesteaks, right? So we're talking Ishkabibbles. We're talking about gyms. If you go a little bit outside of Philadelphia, there's a place that I like to go to called Philin' Gyms. Shout out to them. And you know, it's like a cornerstone of the Philadelphia culture, right? Well, Howie Roseman, in my opinion, decided to take a trip to DC. You know, and once you go below the Mason-Dixon line, the name kind of changes. He is not acting like, you know, the cornerstone of, you know, Philadelphia culture. You know, right now he's acting like a steak and cheese, not a cheesesteak, but he's acting like a steak and cheese. You know, two steakums, non-toasted bread, extra dry. You know what I'm saying? It's a mess right now. So what am I talking about specifically? The fact that he traded the 6th overall pick to trade back to 12. And we got a future first rounder out of Miami, and when we traded 4ths, if I'm not mistaken. So with that being said, obviously Philadelphia fan base is up in an uproar. You know, they tried to actually trade up to get Zach Wilson. Allegedly, that's the reports. Those are the
You
reports
guys tried to trade what, up to the third spot?
Third spot.
Yeah.
And you know, in my opinion, Jalen Hurts, the type of person he is, and I'm glad it's him at the helm right now, and not Carson Wentz, because he would have folded again.
Yep.
Jalen Hurts seems like the type of guy that's going to take that, internalize it, use it as motivation, and ball out next season.
He already has, right? Like he did it in college.
He did it in college, exactly, because he had to go from what's his face? He had to go
Tua.
from he lost the spot to Tua. So, so there's that. And then, you know, after a few days of attempting to let the Philadelphia Eagles fan base calm down, they came out with a semi-press release saying that, oh, well, we traded back because we feel that the Bengals are going to take Jamar Chase off the board, which is quite the possibility, right? Because you have the kid from Florida, I forget his name right now, and then Jamar Chase, which would be great offensive weapons for Joe Burrow when he does return.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking possible O-line, but it makes total sense to get that kid another weapon.
Mm-hmm.
So continuing down my notes, with that being said, we are highly upset. What are you guys' thoughts so far?
Well, that's what I was going to say. So having digested all of that, right? So Marcus went on a texting tirade, basically.
Right.
When was that? Was that Friday?
That was Friday. It's
Yeah.
like I was a mad ex-girlfriend or a mad girlfriend texting their boyfriend when they were like 2 minutes too late to their, you know, relationship curfew at like 11 o'clock. It was that bad. I was blowing his phone up.
Yeah, and so having digested that over the weekend, and then here we are on Tuesday, do you still... So I gave Marcus my opinion, which I'm about to share here.
Okay.
Are you still, like, upset, or...
Here's the thing. It's like I'm not as upset because the more I think about it, the more I feel like, you know, I'm pretty sure Jamar Chase will probably be off the board at 5 based on what they're trying to do for Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
But on the back end, to me, it just looks like a slap in the face, not only to Jalen Hurts, but let's think about, you know, our veterans that we just re-signed that are into their golden years of their career. Like, okay, so now we're rebuilding. I thought we were going to at least make somewhat of an effort to be competitive, at least like attempt to play spoiler at this point.
So more of a reload versus
A rebuild.
A rebuild. Well, so just as I said before, the way that I look at it is I don't think it's that bad of a move. And like all jokes aside, NFC East, taking a shot at the other teams, I don't think it's the worst move because at 12 you can still get a playmaker, right? And not only that, but then if you parlay that draft pick that you have with Wentz, right, that you guys got in return, plus the the swapping of picks and all that shook out with you in Miami, you're setting yourself up to potentially have 3 first-round picks next year.
Yep.
Right? So you all weren't going to win a Super Bowl this year. Nope. Clearly, nobody in the NFC East is going to. Yep. But again, from an outsider looking in, it's not the worst thing because you have a new regime coming in. It's going to take a little bit of time for your team as it stands anyway to get used to that new system. And then you're really going to be able to see who can play in that system, really understand what your draft needs are going to be next year, and then you're potentially sitting with 3 first-round picks. And again, you're probably going to pick in the top, I'd say, 15 next year anyway.
Yep.
So, like, you really are setting yourself up. Like, it's the instant gratification that it's like, I want this player. And the general consensus from the Philadelphia fan base is they want that same player.
Yeah.
But it's not going to happen. And what would be worse, I wouldn't say worse, but if he went before your guys' pick at 6, right, is when you were going to pick.
Right.
Then you're like, oh, okay. But you're still going to be able to get a playmaker.
We will.
You know what I mean? And so that's just my opinion that, yeah, it sucks and it stings because I would be pissed if we were in that situation and we moved back because you know how it is. Like,
we were in love with Chase Young. Right. Like, if we moved back, we would have been like, oh,
and there was talk of that last year. They said, well, they may move back and, you know, add more picks because it's a new regime coming in. So they want to just get as much as they can, blah, 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 whatever. My whole thing is I would just say trust the process because you don't know this coach or like what they're really trying to do. Right. I think next year we'll have the same conversation and I can guarantee you won't be upset.
I probably won't be. But as of right now, I'm still a little big mad. So moving further into the conversation, like, that sounds great, dude. Forget who our general manager is. It is Howie freaking Roseman. He's a cap specialist. He's a terrible drafter. Moving forward, like, it's especially when it comes to receiver. I'm not going to touch on any of that again. I'm not going to relive past trauma.
But what if, like, he has less receivers to choose from now, right? So it's like, even if he makes a bad decision, it doesn't seem as bad.
It doesn't seem as bad. So let me just go ahead and get right into it. Let's get right into these draft needs for my Eagles.
Because some of y'all got you. Some people got y'all taking Kyle Pitts. I don't think he'll be there at 12.
No, Kyle Pitts is going. I want to say I have him.
I say top 5.
Top 5. I would say at the latest top 7 because you know I think it's literally going to be Jamar Chase, Pitts right after.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But we'll see. So biggest needs obviously wide receiver. How he sucks at drafting that. Cornerback, linebacker. Offensive line, defensive tackle, right? Because our defensive tackles are starting to get a little older.
Yeah.
It'd be good to have a young guy behind
Jason Kelsey, dude's getting up there. Lane Johnson, you know, he's middle of his career towards the back end of his prime. Brandon Brooks, still a little bit on the younger side, but it's the injury bug again. You know, it's his Achilles, things like that. So guys that I've been looking at, for the most part, Micah Parsons, dude. Problem linebacker. Dude's a beast, 6.5 sacks last season. And you guys got to – and we have to keep it in perspective, you know, the fact that we had a shortened, 2020 season. So the stats are a little condensed, but these guys are legit. So
he didn't even play.
He didn't even
2020.
Play.
He opted out.
Right. So, the season before, 6.5 sacks, 191 tackles, 18 tackles for loss. Dude's a straight beast. J.C. Horn, his name came up the other day when we talked about on the other podcast.
Some people got him going to Dallas.
Man, look, I'd rather they're going to pick him or Surtain.
Yeah.
They better.
So they need to because we'll get into that in a little bit. Like they need defense. So J.C. Horn, I have Surtain out there. We'll see. I mean, even I would be okay with Waddle, but my problem with that pick is the Eagles need a number 1. He's like drafting, in my opinion, Jalen Reagor all over again. Same measurables. The kid's a dynamic receiver. Like he has an insane catch radius. They're the same height, relatively the same speed. We already have a Jalen Reagor. You know what I mean? It wouldn't be bad.
The proven commodity.
I want the proven commodity at this point. So it's one of those things where we really have to start getting picks right because as a Philly fan, I'm getting a little irritated.
Yeah.
What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, I can't speak too much more on that. I mean, I would say you pretty much covered that.
I would take Waddle if y'all don't, and he's around. I'm cool with that.
He shouldn't. Well, I'll say this: he shouldn't fall, but knowing who our GM is,
Right.
he just might fall. So buckle your seatbelts, Philly fans. It's going to be an interesting 2 seasons.
Yeah, and that's what I always say about the draft, and I think that's what makes it so interesting, right? Like, to me, outside of like the first 2 picks or whatever, usually every year, everything else, it's like if then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just,
That's what it is.
I mean, it's fun, it's exciting.
Yeah.
Right. So just to close it out, we'll see. I hope that Howie Roseman understands that he cannot walk around in Philadelphia. He obviously can't order a cheesesteak. And I mean, have fun in your next press conference, bro, because we do not hold back.
Yeah.
So that's what I got.
Yeah. All right, so we'll get into Washington football.
Let's go.
And why don't you start with us, Adam?
Yeah. Okay. So, I actually think our front office did a pretty decent job of addressing things in free agency,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
Like the big ones that they haven't addressed yet, I would say, are tight end and linebacker.
Yeah.
Those are like
Okay.
the main ones that stick out to me.
Right.
But I honestly didn't think that the class out or the group of free agents out there was like that good at those positions, anyways.
No.
Right? So I always like being able to address things in free agency and just leaving yourself open for the draft, right? Like you want to be able to take talent wherever you can get it. So I still think that our biggest need is probably linebacker, but offensively, I would love to have like a nasty tight end too. Because I think Logan Thomas was great, right? Like I thought he had a great season last year. I think he did the job, but I do think he needs another guy next to him, and I would love to have another tight end to just add like another little bit of versatility to our offense.
I like
right
speed,
now,
speed being one.
right?
And
Speed.
that's not saying Logan Thomas is slow, but by NFL standards, he is.
Yeah.
He's not like a hyper athletic tight end, right? And it'd be really nice to have one of those, or to have like a really, really good blocking tight end, because now we can think about getting Curtis Samuel involved in the backfield and all that
Right.
sort of stuff. So yeah, I'm biased towards the offense. I like watching fun offenses,
Oh,
so
of
I
course.
kind of
Oh,
want
for
us to get a
sure.
nice tight end.
Yeah.
But I think the pragmatic move is to get a linebacker. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, so for me, that is position number 1
Yeah.
was linebacker. And then speaking of linebackers, you actually mentioned him, Micah Parsons, right? So I mean, he's a little raw at the position.
Right.
He can get trapped and get himself in trouble.
Yes.
But he's got good speed and power and length. I mean, that's what you want. He can get sideline to sideline. I don't think he'll have too terrible of a time covering tight ends. And I mean, he's got good instincts, solid tackler. Marcus kind of outlined his stats for 2019. I mean, his name speaks for itself. He's got tremendous upside.
For sure.
I don't know that he'll be there at 19.
Yeah.
But you never know. Again, I mean,
Players fall.
there's certain players that just fall. I mean, it's happened with us.
Yeah.
For some players that we drafted.
Yeah,
so.
we got Dwayne Haskins super late, right?
Right. Yeah. Lucky us. Montez Sweat,
yeah.
Jonathan
Yeah.
Allen.
Yep.
Right.
So I think that's my number 1 position. But then there's also like a Zaven Collins as well from Tulsa. But yeah, tight end would be my number 2.
Okay.
And then it's a toss up for me between like corner and safety. And then I would go like wide receiver, tight end.
Yeah.
Only because we got Curtis Samuel. So as far as wide receiver is concerned, definitely not set, but it's not that big of a need. But I wouldn't be upset if they went after one of these big name receivers with that 19.
If like a tier 1 receiver happens to be there, then
Yeah.
I that's hard to pass up, right?
Yeah, I see some mocks having
Waddle, right?
yeah, and some having other dude. Is it Devontae Smith?
Oh, him dropping. I would love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I would love that. Like
The only
having a
thing is, it's like
technician.
it's just another small wide receiver.
Yeah,
Like I do
yeah.
kind of want a bigger body, but again, I trust in the Rivera regime and what they do. And I mean, we'll see. But again, just my thing, linebacker number 1. Then I'm going, like I said, safety, corner. And then wide receiver, tight end. Offensive line, maybe they can address in the 3rd round. We had 2 picks there, so
Right.
try to add some depth. Hopefully Sadiq Charles comes back healthy. He could, be a viable option there too. So I'm really liking where Washington is sitting, to where, I mean, if they just I mean, they'd almost have to take a kicker in the first round for me to be pissed. You know what I mean? So, and then I might not even be pissed because we have Dustin.
I don't really like Hopkins. I don't think he's been that great. Yeah. No, I totally agree. I like left tackle and free safety are definitely like the other kind of two big positions that I had.
Yeah.
And then the other ones, I guess in the back of my mind might be like defensive end. Like, yeah, we have a couple studs, but we are not like fully set, right? We need a little bit more depth.
Losing Kerrigan and then Ryan Anderson signed with the Giants, so some depth there would be good.
And if a QB happens to slide, or if these guys believe in one of those later first round QBs, that could be an option too.
Yeah. That's why I said the draft is always interesting. You're either about to be extremely excited, pissed off, or confused at your pick,
right?
You know,
but I mean? it's always an extreme, right? Like it's very difficult to be to just be like blah about your first round pick,
right? Yep.
Yeah, I might not be home for the draft just because I might punch through my TV. But it's all good. I totally get it. It's all in good fun. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then as far as Washington news, what happened, Adam?
So last week, Eddie was discussing how we had Adam Humphries in the building, and he actually said at the time, he's like, oh, we're recording, so we don't even really know. He might have been signed. Turns out my guy is a prophet because that's exactly what happened. Adam Humphries signed
Let's go.
mid-recording.
Let's go.
So another shifty tool in the arsenal, good signing, has chemistry with Fitzpatrick. Looking good.
Yeah. Yeah. And to kind of the point that I made last show, I think he's going to help the wide receiver room as far as understanding who Fitzgerald is as a quarterback. And did I say Fitzgerald?
You did.
Fitzpatrick.
Yeah.
Just call him Fitzmagic. It's easier that way.
No, I can't because when he sucks, then they start calling him Fitztragic.
Yeah. Let's go.
But yeah, so he'll be able to help the receiver room just kind of understand, what he's all about, what he expects, things like that. So, to me, he's your true slot guy.
Yeah.
So as I said before, Steve Sims Jr. I did think I saw some moving trucks out in the Ashburn area.
Let's go.
So other than that, I mean, it's pretty much all quiet on the home front.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think things will start heating up in the next couple weeks as they really, gear up towards the draft. And then you'll hear more, especially, local beat reporters talking about, certain players are, rumored to really go here or there and all that stuff. So it'll get fun. It'll get interesting.
Right.
So let's get into quickly. We have about 7 or 8 minutes. Giants and Dallas. Let's do the Giants because I think they need far less than Dallas.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what would you say, Adam, their position or positions of need would be?
So to me, I think offensive line is the big one.
Facts. Yeah, because they had one of the worst last year.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, and then they went all out in like getting Danny Dimes' talent around him, right? Like that Galladay signing is huge.
Yep.
Saquon will be back, hopefully healthy.
Yep.
So yeah, at this point, I think you gotta protect them.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
Good veteran.
Yep.
Yeah, really good pickup there, actually. So yeah, I think you got to go all in on protecting your guy if you're gonna go all in on giving him all these weapons. And yeah, they were terrible at it, and I'll be sad to see them not be terrible at it this season. But yeah,
assuming they draft the right way.
Yeah,
yeah.
Assuming
they did take Eric Flowers, that didn't work out too well for him.
That's probably still a source.
So yeah, hopefully they can. I mean, for Danny Dimes' career, hopefully they get someone decent. Probably guard first was the position I was thinking of because they still got Logan. What's his name?
They signed Zach Fulton.
They did.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he came from the Texans, I think.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then they got I'm blanking on his name, but I think they like signed another vet to a smaller contract, so I think they're okay on the outside, but they need some interior guys.
Yeah, no, for sure. So that was my number one position of need for them. And then I just kind of looked at some of their free agency signings. So obviously they brought in Ryan Anderson. He was a free agent from us. And then they brought in corner Adoree Jackson. Yep. Now he's had injury history, so he has, in my opinion, great upside. But I think they ultimately try to address that, even if it's in the later rounds, trying to pick up a corner, maybe just somebody younger and then some depth there. I also had their defensive line as well. Yeah. They're going to need some help there. Like I said, Ryan Anderson, I think is going to give you a decent amount of help off the edge. Now, they did sign Danny Shelton and Austin Johnson from the Lions.
Yep.
So, but they both pretty much play the same position. So I think they're going to rotate in and out. So they're pretty much more like nose tackles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, but if they can just get some more interior, like help on the line, because like I said before, I don't think their defense overall last year was that bad. I don't know.
It wasn't.
No, it was underrated.
good,
They did well.
They were a tough defense. So, but to me, I think Adam hit the head on the nail. You see what I did there? No, hit the nail on the head when he said pretty much offensive line. Because if you can't keep Daniel Jones upright, all those weapons, I mean,
what's the point?
What do you do? It's like having a Ferrari with no tires,
right?
You know.
Speaking of Ferrari with no tires, Kwan Barkley are getting his back this season, so that's another big piece. You don't want. I mean, granted, this guy is a contact running back, but the more like holes you can open up for this guy, the more you're gonna have him for a longer time as your primary running back. Because I mean, you could definitely see. I mean, they didn't lose too much, in the running game last season. Fortunately, they had a competent backup. But we all know what Kwan Barkley can do. Space.
Just give that dude some daylight.
Just give him a little bit of daylight, and he's getting busy. So that's the only thing I had to add was just making sure you get that offensive line fixed, just so Kwan Barkley can get busy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. All right, and then Dallas. So before we started recording, and we're running short on time, we were just kind of discussing, what we're talking about now. And when we came to Dallas, yes, we all started to chuckle. They need help all across the board.
They do.
Everywhere.
Mostly on defense,
right?
But I still think even their offensive line,
it's getting older.
Yeah. They need some help, and that was even last year, So my biggest position of need was actually hard to identify.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they are in shambles, in my opinion.
And not only that, they have a coach who does not design his offense or gets his offensive coordinator to design his offense based on one of the primary players within that offense. And then that's Ezekiel Elliott. Like, they don't run the ball as much as they should.
No.
And he's making how many $1 million a year?
Too many.
Okay, so maybe I stand on the other side of this a little bit, but like, I don't think he's been that good, man. Like, I don't. They're not running with it. This past year, he was horrendous, dude. He was horrendous. It's a steep decline with that guy.
Super. It was definitely a huge drop off. But it's also one of those things where if you give him daylight, he will get busy. But I don't know. That's just where my head went. Was yes, they need offensive line help, but also you need to utilize your weapons.
Yeah. No, I wholeheartedly agree. Keep Dak upright. Right? Like, keep your guy upright. He's great.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said that the offense should have run through Zeke. You know what I mean? But you really see with McCarthy that they're just not.
But he never did that in Green Bay either.
No, he didn't. Right. He didn't. And that's the thing. So, I mean, I think with him coming in, you kind of knew what you were going to get.
Right.
But you did pay Zeke so much money. You figure out how to use him. If you're not going to use him in the run game, use him in the pass game.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because he can function there.
No, he can.
Like,
he can. I mean, we've seen it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Like, Kellen Moore still their offensive coordinator, right?
Is he?
I think they retained him. We got to double check on that. If so, dude, draw some plays up. Get something going. I mean, just as a football fan, as an Eagle fan, keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You guys are
we
great.
say that all the time.
You guys are doing great.
Yep. It's like,
It
like,
really...
I was going to say, like them doing a fake punt on 4th down.
Oh, yeah.
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I loved it. That was a play of the game.
Every time.
Run that back.
Attaboy.
No,
gosh.
The Cowboys like reek of a team that is like struggling to find its identity right now. Right?
Yeah,
like they're at this weird crossroads where they have like a passing minded head coach and they have a passing minded offensive arsenal, right?
Yep. Yeah.
But they still want to like focus in on the run. They paid Zeke way too much money and they're just in a really bad spot and you love to see it.
Right, yeah. Well, because here's my thing. Okay, you draft him, that's fine, right? But I do think I guess to your point, establish your identity first.
Yeah.
If Zeke fits in that identity of we're going to be a run-heavy offense, then keep him. If not, you didn't have to re-sign him. You could have let him walk, or you could have traded him and got value back. You can find serviceable running backs.
Yeah.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
Especially when you major in the pass game.
And here's the thing. They have so much money tied up in Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, that defense. You better figure out your identity quick, because you have to survive via the draft, because your cap sucks moving forward.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, they got to figure it out. And honestly, too, like, I think just to complete that offensive arsenal, they do need like a showstopper tight end.
Yeah.
And,
absolutely.
And their
that's
offense
like the one thing they're
would
missing.
be vicious.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, I don't know. And again, I know largely we'll get dismissed as just Dallas haters because they're in our division. But no, we do honestly, right? You can go back from the very first episode up until this episode now. And we poke our fun. And I mean, hell, somebody even commented like, you know, I make fun of my own team. Right. Because when we suck, we suck.
Yeah,
you know what
sure.
I mean?
Got to. If you're not laughing, you're crying.
We're going to have some bias towards our team, duh, right? That's going to happen. But we do like to just shoot it straight here. So, I mean, what we're saying about Dallas is just honestly from an outsider looking in. Now, again, when you screw up, we enjoy it.
Yeah. Oh,
you know what I mean? And we are here for it.
That's right.
So, yeah, I don't know what they're going to do in the draft.
In the end, like, just as a football fan and watching what Dak Prescott went through, you hope whatever decision they make is to the benefit of keeping that man on the field and upright versus seeing him go down the way that he did last season.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And to me, man, I just remember 3-4 years ago, Dallas, and then a few years before that, for like that stretch, it was like 3-4 years.
Right.
They had like the best offensive line.
it was dirty. There was nothing
They
you
were
can
so
do.
good.
It was like them and the Eagles.
Yeah, and then Zeke was just running off tackle and then just going straight up field for 60 yards.
Yeah,
It's
it's
disgusting.
So to me, I think that offense as is can probably hang 35 to 40 on you.
Yep.
If you get a good offensive line that can pass block and like open holes, dude,
It's over.
you can get by with like one season with a crappy defense and still be in contention to win the division. Because I mean, let's face it, the winner's going to win at most 10 games, right?
Yeah.
In our division. So if you can just blow teams out,
Fry 'em, yeah.
then I think you address the defense heavy next year. But I mean,
look at what the Cowboys were doing at the beginning of last season, right? Like with all the injuries and everything,
Right.
Dak was putting up
Numbers.
video game
Oh, he was.
numbers,
it was
right?
disgusting. It wasn't
So
fair.
help him out a little bit,
Right.
and let turn it. That could actually be really fun to see, to just watch like every Cowboys game be a shootout where it's just who's
great
going to
TV.
score more, right?
It's
like
great TV.
I think that'd be a lot of fun. So yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with what you said, Marcus. Like, protect Dak, just keep that guy upright.
Yep.
yeah, I mean, clearly in a passing league, that's number one. We talked about it last week about Russell Wilson. We just talked about it with the Giants. Now we're talking about it with Dallas. We're talking about it even with Joe Burrows. Like, he's going to need some help. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that's what it is. It's like you invest in these quarterbacks and these offensive weapons. They're only going to go as a quarterback goes. So, and if they're always on their ass, what are you going to do?
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
we shall see. But again, the draft should be fun.
Oh, it's fun.
And that is, when is that? The 23rd, I think? 23rd, 24th?
Something like that.
Yeah, late April. But it's coming quick, though.
It's coming
It's
quick.
coming quick.
And
Yeah.
my anxiety builds.
Yeah, and we were actually supposed to have my buddy on, Josh Taylor.
Right.
But he had some scheduling issues, so we'll get him back on. He's actually going to the draft in Cleveland.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
That's dope.
Yeah. So he's good dude.
Yeah.
We'll get him on. We'll get him on,
forward to
talk
it.
some Washington stuff. He's with the Burgundy Network
Nice.
podcast. So
There you go.
yeah, man. That's pretty much about it for the show.
Yep.
Like I said, it'll be fun.
Yeah.
It'll be
fun.
interesting. I'm still waiting to see, honestly, too, just between teams if there's going to be any more shuffling of the deck of swapping picks, moving up, jockeying into or out of position, those types of things. And it'll be interesting to see if Washington holds pat. I think you guys are done at 12, right? You're probably not going to be swapping anything else.
You say that, but
it could be like a draft night thing. I could see it being a draft night thing.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, yeah. So that'll just depend on how dominoes fall and whether, Philly says, okay.
Is their guy there?
There?
Right? Like,
is he there? Is he projected to be, further back? So, I mean, the day of the draft, like those type of last minute trades are always pretty cool too. But again, even with Washington, I think they'll stand pat at 19. I don't see them. If anything, I see maybe them moving up if there's a quarterback they're in love with that is just starting to fall. Yeah. You know what I mean? Maybe they go up and get him. I don't know. But all right. Well, this is Eddie, Adam, and Marcus. This is the Average Sports Guys. This is the Average Sports Guys podcast. As always, be sure to head over to our website, averagesportsguys.com. All of our podcasts are there. All of the video podcasts from YouTube are there. Be sure to check us out on social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and again, YouTube.
Everything.
And we're out of here. We'll see you next week.